Lloydetta Quaicoe. I'm here at the rooms where we just finished recording a Sharing Our Culture series. This is a place where you get to meet amazing individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's your boy DC, Thursday night host of Rogers Out of the Fog.
Right, you kind of got to make your own fun.
Yeah.
Which was a transition for me, going into the morning show here.
Proud. Keep doing the amazing work, will you?
They're learning about how to hire people.
20 years of local matter, so join me every Thursday night and see what's going on in the fog.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
It is a profound privilege to present to you one of our most distinguished alumni, Dr. Lloydetta Quaicoe. In 1982, she left her favorite haunts in Sierra Leone, her favorite beaches, and her burgeoning career as a TV presenter to set out for Newfoundland and Labrador with her husband, John, who was taking up a position in the Engineering and Applied Sciences Department at Memorial. She made her home in Newfoundland and Labrador and became a student at Memorial University, where she earned her bachelor's degree and her master's degrees. She plunged into church and community service to make the connections with the wonderful people and with this very different but very adventurous place. She brought to her classes at Memorial her intellectual curiosity and her friendliness and her determination to make her home in Newfoundland and Labrador. Since then, she has given everyone she meets in this province unparalleled leadership in intercultural relationships. In 1999, long before these words had been grouped together in our lexicon, she made possible inclusive, diverse, and an equitable society. Consistently and with a steady and forceful determination, she worked within our community to deal with the immediate needs of children, families, immigrants, and refugees who were often bewildered and felt alienated and even had to face racism and injustice in a place where they wanted to belong and lead a productive life. Inspired by her faith, Lloydetta worked resolutely and by example to advance Nelson Mandela's philosophy that education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world, and it is every individual's hands who can help make a better world for all to live in, no matter what color, creed, ethnicity, class, or gender. Whether you come from here or away, you deserve respect and love. So, she founded the group Sharing Our Cultures, an organization governed by volunteers to engage high school students from diverse cultures to develop healthy friendships, as well as to develop their leadership, literary and socioeconomic skills, and which still, to this very day, is a society that engages with all new groups of individuals who feel lost and bewildered. Lloydetta has made a positive difference in the lives of all of us by changing institutional systems from within, by sharing her knowledge, her experience, in making a difference in policy initiatives in education, law, religion, and medicine. She has served as a volunteer on numerous boards and committees, including the Ministers' Roundtable for Immigration, the Multicultural Education Advisory Committee, the International Ministries team at Bethesda Pentecostal Church, the Seniors Resource Centre, the Community Sector Council of Newfoundland and Labrador. She is chair of the Omni East Advisory Council for Arts in the Atlantic Provinces and co-chair of the RCMP Black Engagement Steering Committee, as well as being on the advisory committee of St. John's Local Immigration Partnership. She has been president of the Multicultural Women's Organisation and is co-founder of the African Canadian Associates of Newfoundland. And that is just to name a few. Making a positive difference in the lives of everyone. Lloydetta, as her dear husband John has told me, has loved and lived by the words of the Nigerian gospel singer Sinach, who wrote and sings that we should make the way smoother for others by working miracles, keeping our promises, and defeating darkness with light. Never one to seek awards or public recognition for doing what is right. Her work for Newfoundland and Labrador and Canada has not gone unnoticed in Canada's multicultural, diverse, inclusive, and equitable society. In 2013, she received the Head of State, Queen Elizabeth's II Diamond Jubilee Medal for her unselfish, tireless service in promoting the values of multiculturalism and intercultural relations. In 2018, the Human Rights Commission of Newfoundland named her a human rights champion for her work with newcomers and in the school system. In 2019, she received the Canada Volunteer Award as Community Leader Atlantic Region, and in 2019, in a celebration in Government House, she received the Order of Newfoundland and Labrador. Nelson Mandela said that the winners in life are the dreamers who never give up. And Lloydetta, the champion of human rights, leader of social change, has never given up. In the words of her favorite hymn, she has, with measureless might and ineffable love, she has given a lasting legacy to our smiling, windswept land. So, Chancellor, I ask you to award Dr. Lloydetta Quaicoe the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa for her transforming, altruistic, and unselfish commitment to our home and native land.
By virtue of the authority entrusted in me, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Originally from Sierra Leone, Dr. Lloydetta Ursula Quaicoe moved to Newfoundland and Labrador in 1982, where she has distinguished herself for her dedication and support for many social causes. She holds a Master of Arts degree from Memorial University and a doctoral degree in education from the University of South Australia. Dr. Quaicoe's commitment to the psychosocial needs of young immigrants and refugees resulted in her establishing the nonprofit organization Sharing Our Cultures in 1999. Since then, Sharing Our Cultures has offered free intercultural learning programs for thousands of culturally diverse youth. The organization expanded its programs to all regions of the province to help culturally diverse youth to better integrate into Canadian society.
I now invite Dr. Lloydetta Ursula Quaicoe to address convocation.
Chancellor, President, members of government, members of the Board of Regents, members of the Senate and faculty, members of the graduating class, distinguished guests, good afternoon. Congratulations, graduates. I'm so proud of you. You persevered and stayed the course, even during a global health pandemic that disrupted your studies and affected every aspect of our lives. You have proven to yourselves and to others that you have what it takes to overcome the unexpected, to attain the goals to which you have aspired and inspired. And here you are at convocation, a proud moment for you and all your loved ones. I'm cognizant of the fact that my address stands between the end of convocation and your plans to celebrate. So I'll be brief. You can count on it. I'm indeed honored to receive this recognition for my commitment to diversity and inclusion, for helping people find a sense of place and belonging, and for my actions to move our society forward. Please allow me to share a few anecdotes from my experience on my journey to where I am today. I'll foreground these anecdotes within the context of ideas, an acronym for inclusion, diversity, equity, and anti-racism in society. It is our collective responsibility to create environments where ideas are intentionally pursued in our interactions with others. My journey started in Freetown, Sierra Leone, in West Africa, the place of my birth. Freetown is a bustling metropolis with over 1 million people of different ethnicities and nationalities. It's a port city, a destination for tourists, an economic hub. And it even boasts of the first institution of higher learning in modern sub-Saharan Africa. In my early years, I spent time in England with my older sister Nanette and her parents while our dad pursued further studies. We grew up in a Christian family where everyone was welcome and made to feel at home, regardless of their culture, language, ethnicity, or religion. My first employment after graduating from high school was with the National Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service, where I hosted a weekly multicultural children's television program with storytelling, educational activities, and musical performances. When we moved to St. John's from Toronto, my husband, John, who had accepted an offer to teach engineering at Memorial University, We arrived here and didn't know anyone. We arrived in a city in St. John's where the demographic composition was very different from Toronto or Freetown. On arrival, I felt a loss of home, a loss of community, a loss of familiar places. Actually, I even felt an erasure of my personal history. And I'll explain what I mean by that. You see, in Freetown, as soon as I stepped out of the house, I knew my neighbors and everyone on the street. If I met someone who didn't know me, all I had to do was to mention the name of my parents or grandparents, and immediately they would make the connection to my ancestral lineage. The person will say in Creole, which is a lingua franca, "I know whose pikin you be," which translates into "I know whose child you are," or as some around here would say, "I knows who knit you." So, developing a sense of place and belonging was important to me, living in a dominant mainstream Anglo-Irish culture in St. John's. But as time went by, I became curious about how children from different nationalities were experienced in school. I thought about them as a minority in a classroom, or maybe even the whole school, especially if they did not speak the language of instruction or had huge academic gaps due to living for extended periods in violent conflicts or refugee camps with little or no schooling. I decided to conduct a study of the psychosocial needs of immigrant and refugee school children. That was 25 years ago. I observed children in schools and interviewed them, their parents, teachers, guidance counselors, and school administrators. The children shared their experiences of social isolation, racially motivated bullying, and difficulty joining friendship groups. I also noticed that those in authority did not look like the children who were in their school. And also, the textbooks and posters did not represent people of diverse cultures. But these findings, as well as newcomers' expressed needs for a sense of place and belonging, motivated me to establish the Sharing Our Cultures program in 1999, as Dr. Stavely has mentioned. Today, the program brings together school children and youth from diverse cultural backgrounds, including local, francophone, and indigenous youth in urban and rural communities. Throughout the program, which is offered free of charge, these school children and youth engage in educational activities and learn from each other. They often develop friendships that last long after they graduate from the program. Our organization's vision is to provide a platform, spaces, for the voices, cultures, histories, experiences of all children and youth to be heard, seen, respected, and valued. Well, my guiding principle is embedded in Proverbs 3:27, which says, "Do not withhold good from anyone when it is in your power to do it." I recently had a conversation with a school youth in our program who had escaped the violence in her country of birth and lived as a refugee in 2 countries prior to arriving in Canada. And then she said to me, "Miss, what is home for us? Is it where we were born, where we lived, where we live now? Is home in our hearts for what we remember about home?" And after a moment of silence and reflection, I responded, "What's home for you?" And she replied, "All that, Miss." All of that resides within her, and it's what makes her who she is. She had previously shared with me a few times about her struggles to adapt and transition into a new society and the reality of her identity as a minority in a dominant culture. That day, she was engaging in a conversation about the need to belong and to feel at home. and to have a sense of place. As a 16-year-old learning English in addition to the 4 languages she already knew, she exhibited strength and resilience and the desire to persevere as she navigated life in this province. So for the many young people in similar situations, we have a collective responsibility to create inclusive and equitable spaces so that they're not marginalized or disenfranchised. Last summer, in response to reported incidents of racism, we embarked on a documentary project, Imagine Space. SPACE being an acronym for support, positive, action, collaboration, and experiences. We wanted to provide safe spaces for conversations with high school youth who experience racism or discrimination or institutional barriers. The project was designed to collaborate with the community to end racism. At the initial meeting of our Youth Advisory Committee, I thought the parents would just drop off their children and leave, but they stayed. And I must confess, I was a little nervous at first. I was thinking, this is supposed to be a Youth Advisory Committee, you know? But then the children shared their experiences of racism, and the parents shared the impact those experiences had on their lives and on their families. What we had planned would be a youth committee for this project is now a support group for youth and parents who want to talk about how they could best cope with racist incidents at school and in the community. They indicated that there was nowhere for them to receive the support they needed or were looking for. So we've been meeting with them regularly at our Learning Resource Center. And I must say that although it was heartbreaking for me to hear what they have endured, it was also a humbling experience knowing that our organization can provide safe, inclusive, and caring spaces for listening, supporting, and seeking solutions. A few years ago, I received a telephone call from a former participant of Sharing Our Cultures. She wanted to meet with me, so we arranged to meet, and as soon as we sat down, she said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're still doing Sharing Our Cultures because you saved my life." She went on to explain that when she moved to Canada with her parents, she missed her extended family and all her friends. She had to go to school, although she did not speak English and she did not have any friends at school. She told me this: "Every day I went to school, I hated it. I hated school and I hated my life." She said one day the guidance counselor told her, "Why don't you go to that Sharing Our Cultures program?" She did, and she said, "It saved my life." She met others who were experiencing similar challenges, and soon she made friends. I can remember that year she arrived, she joined a group of dancers and helped me to design and sew the traditional clothes for the performances. She was so proud to share her culture and perform at our annual events and Canada Day celebrations. The following 2 years of high school, she took on leadership roles, including mentoring newcomers to the program. And you know, today, she's a crisis social worker at a hospital in Ontario, where she's making an impact in the lives of others. Our province is pursuing immigration as a strategy for population and economic growth due to low birth rates, an aging population, and out-migration. As the province becomes more culturally diverse, it is important that newcomers and equity-deserving individuals feel that this is also their place and where they belong. Diverse voices need to be heard and included in decision-making processes that affect them. We need to accept and also respect our differences and ensure that schools and communities are safe and inclusive spaces where everyone belongs. In the words of Bishop Desmond Tutu, differences aren't intended to separate or alienate. We're different precisely in order to realize our need for each other. As educators and teachers, we need to be committed to inclusion, diversity, equity, and anti-racism. It is imperative that all school children and youth receive the equitable human and material resources they need to thrive and succeed in our society. Sharing Our Cultures has grown partly because of our collaboration with community partners. For over 15 years, Memorial University's Student Advising Office, and now the Internationalization Office, has provided us with space for our skills development workshops and recruited international students to facilitate sessions and mentor high school youth. This engagement is a motivating factor for our youth participants considering post-secondary education at Memorial University. I am grateful for the encouragement of my family, our children, David, Deborah, and Danette, and friends, some of whom are here today or watching online. I'm also thankful to the government departments, organizations, and private companies that have come alongside to support the work we do for school children and youth to nurture a sense of place and belonging, to feel included and valued for who they are. As you continue your life's journey post-convocation, you may find yourselves in situations that are not inclusive or equitable, or in spaces where racism and discrimination are tolerated, or where institutional barriers disproportionately disadvantage equity-deserving children. Those situations, spaces, practices must change, and you may be well-positioned to make that change. If you don't have the power to do it, you can collaborate with others who do. Dr. Nelson Mandela's words remind us, what counts in life is not merely the fact that we have lived. It's what difference we have made in the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. Congratulations to each graduate for the future, and thank you.